Namaste, my friends. Today we will understand if we are seeking permanent happiness in our life. If yes, so we should find out where it is located and how to get it. But why we have this question? Because if I'm seeking permanent happiness in my life, obviously the anxiety, the duality, conflict, and problems will not be there in my life. Or even if there are the problems, I can deal with them in the state of happiness. Last time we understood that human being has a faculty, highest faculty of intellect. Why we say it is highest? Because we have a free intellect. So why there is what is the use of the free intellect? I can receive and retain the knowledge as a human being, and we can use that knowledge in action. That is what is technology. So Eastern wisdom is also a technology to discover that peace and happiness. So we covered briefly that in our previous lesson, but now we will talk about permanent peace and happiness. So let me make a brief understanding. In order to secure permanent peace and happiness, first we have to become a seeker. I have talked and discussed in detail. I should be very clear about the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom. Eastern wisdom asks that, or presents, that know who you are. Who am I? What is the nature of the world outside? And what is the existence? Then ask yourself, be very clear. Am I clear? Am I ready and committed and qualified? I should be very clear about the result. Follow the path of the Eastern wisdom to discover first state, end of suffering. All kinds of mental and emotional suffering we bring to an end. How can you say Buddha, Jesus, thousands of masters, testimony is there, 3,000 texts and teachings are there. Do we follow the teaching? Am I ready? That makes me a qualified seeker. And then we also discussed briefly in a couple of the sessions that how we become a qualified seeker. I have to have a power of discernment. I have to have a power of dispassion. I should invoke the six treasures of my mind. And after that, once we reach to that state, we are a seeker. And that seeker listens and learns, receives the knowledge, retains the knowledge, applies that knowledge in daily life, in thought, speech, and action, and realize what we realize. Oh, happiness is already within me. By regular practice in the beginning until we are the highest level of a seeker, and after that, we start living in happiness in personal, professional, social life. I will cover this topic in two sessions. So now what we say that happiness is our essential nature. What it means? Now we are following the path of I don't know, let me know it. I do not understand, let me understand it. And I do not experience, let me practice and experience it. So these are the three principles. So I follow that principle for you, and then you have to think in this way. You have to contemplate in this way. So when I say happiness is our essential nature means that cannot be undone. When it cannot be undone, then it is permanent happiness. Permanent happiness. Permanent. So can I have an anxiety and duality and a conflict and problems and in the state of permanent happiness? Answer is no. No, but I want to know a little more about this permanent happiness. But if the mind is not ready to accept, to continue and follow, then it becomes a challenge. So, how to make the mind competent? Become a qualified seeker. Never forget the principle to discern, to enter into the state of dispassion, awaken to the six treasures of the mind. Six treasures of the mind. We normally awaken to stress and suffering in our daily life. Even when we have the capacity, we have the ability as a human being, we carry forward the legacy of anxiety, duality, conflict, challenges, and then we continue to suffer. So let us briefly pick up and then we will explain it in detail. Permanent happiness. So when we say permanent happiness, we should qualify the word permanent with the happiness, and we should qualify happiness with the permanent. So think of it. What it means by permanent. We are happy in the morning. We are happy in the afternoon. We are happy in the night. We are happy with you. We are happy with anyone. We are happy in relationship. We are happy in a situation. We are happy at a particular time. We are happy at a workplace. That means permanent. That is the word used, eternal. So now, what conclusion we draw by saying this? It means that happiness is within me. It is not dictated, influenced by any person, relationship, time, situation, and condition outside. Is it possible to remain indifferent or not to be dictated by any situation outside? Yes. That is why we say we have a free will. That is why we say we are independent. That is why we say that I am separate from the world. I am separate from the world. Do I see it? So when I see it, this is discernment. It's not difficult. It's very easy way. When I say I know you, am I not separate from you? Say yes. So if I'm separate from you, then I have a sense of freedom that I should not be dictated by you. You may create any situation because I'm independent of you. Did you understand? Do you start thinking like that? You simply think like that and you will see the result just by thinking. So does it mean permanent? Then it is different from the non-happiness is different from pleasure. Pleasure is short-lived. Happiness should continue. So now think of it that I said permanent happiness and then we came down to pleasure and happiness. What is pleasure? Pleasure is only experienced in a condition when I come in contact with something else in the world. I may come in contact with a person, I may come in contact with a food, I may come in contact with a car, I may anything. So once the contact is gone, pleasure is gone. So pleasure is short-lived. So why Master says that I have to become a seeker? So that I could realize and recognize this is pleasure, this is not happiness. So I have to remove that ignorance, that sense of misunderstanding and wrong notion. How it will come? By thinking, by thinking, by thinking, going to the root cause. No, he made me upset. Really? Go to the cause. Can anyone make me upset? Because I'm influenced by something outside. Why I'm influenced? Because I start thinking the way that person is not behaving. Do I have a control on that person or any person in the world, including Hari? Answer is no. So why should I be worried? So what happened to me? I reacted. I'm in anxiety because of you. Why? Why? Because I started thinking with the likes and dislikes. So where the likes and dislikes are working in my head. Can I change that thinking? Yes. Change the thinking and see. So why I should change the thinking? Because happiness is not present in the world outside, it is present in me. I'm carried away, I'm influenced, I'm dictated by the situation outside. But I have the ability not to be. You have thought of it, you have reflected on it, you have found the ultimate cause, and now you do the practice, you will succeed. What do you mean by success? You will discover that happiness is present in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, in the night, in any person, in a situation. Now think the other way. That we will discuss in other topic, but I'm just giving a brief. Because of the impurity of the mind, because of lack of awareness, because of superimposition of the false, because of the superimposition of the wrong notions in our head, in our mind, because of living a habitual life, because of living an impulsive life, because we identify with the outer situation in the world, it causes the problem. Where is the remedy? Discernment. Separate. Where to separate? In my head. How? By knowledge, followed by the practice. We have started the topic, our permanent happiness. If happiness is our essential nature, if yes, how to achieve it? So you have to study the second topic. I have covered the first one. You know what happens that in the master long back in 8th century possibly, he wrote the book. He just gave one liner of each step. There are 40 steps. He compressed it. He compressed it, and all the 40 steps are written in 5 verses. Verses, 4-liner, 5-liner, 2-liner. So he compressed it. We have to unfold that knowledge. So when we unfold that knowledge by thinking and contemplation, the clarity comes. That is what we are doing together. But those 5 verses can be written, or 40 liners can be written in A4 size paper. And I explained that in more than 410 or 15 pages in that book. It should be written basically in 4,000 pages. Because every liner is a zip folder that contains sometime 10 to 20 files. And every file has a subtopic. So what I covered, I could say I have covered briefly, I have covered incompletely, and that is why we are having a live session to understand it. So is peace, happiness, love, and wisdom in the world or within all of us? Does this contain peace and happiness? If this mouse contain peace and happiness, I will get it, I will buy it. But we already know we cannot buy happiness. So it means we can buy the mouse, but we cannot buy happiness. Are you clear? So this is the world for me. So I cannot find the happiness in the world. So simple. Let us explain it further. We marry for happiness, that is the greatest mistake. We superimpose a happiness on a person to whom I get married, and that causes the problem. But happiness is within me. But why I say this? Think. Why I say this? So I say this that when I say I marry for happiness, it means I have superimposed falsely the happiness in my partner, and then I'm constantly expecting happiness from the other. But that honey or that partner is the part of the world. Happiness is not there. You just start thinking in that way. While sitting on a couch, on a lazy chair, you think that way because our thinking is polluted. How it is polluted? He came to my house, I offered him so many things, but he did not care for me. He just reacted and he was upset. I'm expecting happiness. When my mind through the thinking dropped that expectations, the mind is clear that no situation, person outside can give me peace and happiness. I'm explaining only the second topic. You have to raise the question. If you don't find the answer, write to me, send to me. So another principle comes out that desire in the mind is seeking happiness outside in the world. That demand for happiness all the time from a situation, from a person, from a thing, from the world is the problem. Why we demand? We demand because we do not want to be unhappy at any time, at any place, with anyone, in any condition. But no time, no condition, no person in the world can secure happiness. Why? Because it is not there. So what happens? Your mind is clear. And now you ask the question how to explore that happiness which is permanent, which is essential. Eastern wisdom shows us the steps to follow the knowledge, to make the mind clear, to make the mind pure, to drop the superimposition, to drop the impulsive nature by simply understanding. Think which topic I should take up now. I have understood, so let me explore step by step what exactly happiness is. What is the difference between the pleasure and happiness? Happiness is an experience. I experience pleasure, I experience reaction, I experience anxiety, same thing, I experience pleasure. And all experiences takes place in the mind. I made that statement in the book, what it means. I did not make it. I just borrowed the knowledge and understood that knowledge of our great masters. My master you see in the background. I don't know anything. I'm very clear. Because I don't know anything, so the mind remains empty. So what the mind says, I know that guy is crazy. I need not to think that guy is crazy or not. Why should I waste my time? Why should I make an effort to prove that guy is crazy? Do you see that? So come back to the topic. All experiences takes place in the mind. What are those experiences? Pain, problem, profit, loss, victory, defeat, anxiety, duality, conflict, anger, hatred, pleasures. They always takes place in the mind. We are going deeper in this new year. We are using the power of discernment. Now, when all experiences takes place in the mind, then are you the mind? No, I'm not the mind. Mind is an instrument, like a smartphone, like computer, like car. But then why am I worried? I should change the experience in the mind. Are you getting it? The mind is an instrument of knowledge supported by 5 instruments of knowledge known as the sense organs, and the 5 instruments of action known as the motor organs, the 5 functions of energy that regulate different physiological, chemical, psychological changes, plus intellect, plus ego, that allows me to know any experience. But one thing is clear, I am not the mind. So when it is 100% clear in my head that I am not the mind receives all these experiences. I am different from the mind. I have discerned and I'm happy. But we have to understand a little deeper. All experiences takes place in the mind. It is not happening. It is not my experience. I press and then I see, then I go and I open my computer. Is this my experience or it is the experience in the mind in contact with the mouse? And then what happens? The people, they press, nothing happens, and they start fighting with the computer. There's the extreme level of ignorance, wrong understanding, misconception. Are you clear? All experiences takes place in the mind. Very clear. Say yes. So now what is this mind? Mind is known as the subtle instruments. Why it is known as subtle? I can see through your, I can see you through my sense organ, but I cannot see your thought. So one is purely physical and one is subtler. Subtler means that we cannot see through the five sense organs. Cannot see the thought and feeling and emotions of anger. There lies the problem. Where lies the problem? In the mind. So if we know what is the problem in the mind and how to correct that problem, if the instrument is not working fine, if the smartphone is not working fine, you cannot make the call. Fine means right, it functions orderly. If the mind is not functioning orderly, orderly means what? Something messed up. So mind is messed up with lot of things. So if we understand how the mind messes it up and how to clear it, the mind is clear. Mind will reflect permanent peace and happiness. You have to read the second topic again and again, and then you listen to this. That second topic may be of 3 and 4 pages, but when I'm talking for an hour, it may go to 50 pages. What makes us happy or enjoy? What makes me happy? So because all experiences takes place in the mind, are you clear? Yes. Good, bad, high, low, everything is happening in the mind. So I have to find out why the mind picks up the experiences which are painful, anxious, reactive, etc. I have to separate it, finished. But the mind has messed up this. I forget this. Why I forget this? Because of my impulsive nature, because of my past impressions, because I live my habitual life, because I do not live in self awareness. We are going deeper. What makes me happy and how I get the pleasure? Let us take an example. Eating pasta makes us happy. I gave that example in the book. The mind says. The mind takes for granted that the pasta contains happiness. When when we prepare or order pasta, possess and eat pasta, then it gives us pleasure. There are 3 moments in that pleasure. First, a thought. Why that pasta gives me a pleasure? Because I like it. So liking is first and then only I think about it. Disliking is first, then I want to get away with that thing or a person. From where the liking comes in the mind. That like and dislike is the problem. That is the first. Remember this, the three steps. So I thought of it, I like it, I possess it, I get little more pleasure, I'm more happy. First by just thinking because I like pasta, and so pasta gives me happiness, so little happiness. More happiness when I possess it. Little more happiness when I eat it. Okay, pasta gives me pleasure. Oh, it's a kind of happiness I brand it. So does the pasta gives me happiness all the time? No. Anything that we enjoy, so-called the pleasure in the world outside, is caused by the first step that I think, and in that thinking there is a liking. I like David. The moment my mind do not say I like David, oh, I enjoy the company of a David because I like him. Can you enjoy the company if you dislike a person? That is how the mind messes with us and we forget it. Why we forget? Because we are living our life unconsciously, habitually, impulsively. So, what do you want to say? I want to say that the pleasure in pasta is imagined pleasure. There is no pleasure in the pasta, or in tea, or in coffee, or in any food. The pleasure in the pasta is imagined pleasure caused by the likes in the mind. I like a person and who abuses. What happens? I was expecting pleasure. I wanted to enjoy pleasure, but now he abused. That sense of pleasure is gone. You see, likes and dislikes. The mind instantly moves to the dislikes. Why? How dare you abuse me? How dare you reacted to me? I was thinking, good for you. I was thinking, in your company, I will enjoy the pleasure. You go to the restaurant and you are served with a pasta with lot of jalapenos, which is very hot. You will not like the restaurant. You will not like the waiter who served you the pasta. You don't want to even give the tip. Think. Apply the same to a person, to an event, to a situation, to a condition in day-to-day living. What you need to do, you have to simply live in awareness. Awareness of what? Likes and dislike comes, drop it. So let us keep in mind that we like pasta, so we get pleasure eating pasta. We like it. If we dislike pasta, then eating pasta does not give us pleasure. The mind by default is like pasta. The liking triggers the mind to think of pleasure in the pasta. But the pleasure is not there in the pasta. Pleasure is not in the David. Pleasure is not in the Eric. Pleasure is not in the Michael. Pleasure is not in any person. Pleasure is not in the honey. It is because I like it, then I superimpose the pleasure, that pleasure, superimpose pleasure that I feel it. In the beginning, you should understand this point. And then we will go further from where the pleasure is coming. If the pleasure is not present in the past, if the pleasure is not present in the mind, we will understand that part later. I told you, one topic in the book contains 4 and 5 pages. When I was writing, and I thought that how to compress it. But when we explain, it goes into more than 50 pages. The pleasure in the pasta is imagined, not researched, not a fact. Now, the next topic, we go on researching, go on discovering, go on finding. Don't stop there. But is it not a fact? The food you like, you enjoy. There is a pleasure. That's our day-to-day experience. We like a person and who comes to our home, we enjoy. Whatever we like, we get the pleasure. It's a fact of our mind. So, what should be our next question? How many factors, which are the factors responsible for pleasure eating pasta? So, once we understand all those factors, go deeper. Where? Deeper in your mind. Use the same example. I like pasta, so it contains an imagined pleasure. Why we say imagined pleasure? Because the pleasure is not in the pasta. But how to understand, how to prove it? That pleasure is not contained in anything in the world outside. Keep the world at bay. Where? How? Mind. How? Awareness. So, first, I like pasta, so I see the imagined pleasure. So, with that imagination, my mind now starts procuring, possessing, and owning pasta to enjoy pleasure. I like, the moment I like, I imagine the pleasure in it, but that is only in the state of the mind. So I want to possess that object. Here it is the pasta to enjoy the pleasure, to eat it. Any object, car, I have to drive. Pasta, I have to eat. My friend, the moment I start thinking that way, the impurity of the mind starts. And then the mind keeps on thinking of those factors which can help me procure, possess, own, eat pasta. For example, possess own car, possess own house, possess own clothes. We see the pleasure in the clothes, we see the pleasure in having, possessing, and owning a car, etc. It's a long list. So we have to go deeper to break that cycle of imagined pleasure. In order to do that, I have to find out the factors responsible for pleasure. How many factors are there? Example. Again with the same pasta. You can use the pasta as anything that you possess, you want to own, you like, or any person. So I like pasta. Imagine pleasure is there. Now I go for possessing the pasta. In order to possess the pasta, I call a restaurant to book a table. Drive a car there and should have enough money to buy to eat and to give a tip. Besides, the waiter should serve pasta with a smile. You see those factors? He has served with the best pasta, but the waiter serves with a big face, reacts. These are the factors. You should be in a good mood to eat, to enjoy the pleasure of eating pasta. A single factor not met will take away any pleasure in eating pasta. You're not in a good mood, you don't have enough resources, the car does not have a gas, the seat is not there, it's full. Any factor, how many factors are responsible to get a short term pleasure? Maybe 10-15 minutes you keep on eating pasta, after that you cannot keep that pasta with you all the time. So the pleasure is short lived. We proved pleasure is short lived. Imagine pleasure is short lived. It demands so many factors. If not a single factor is met, we get upset. Pleasure is gone. Are we living our life as this short term pleasure with a person, with a pasta, with a situation, with a condition? I'm influenced and dictated. My mind is influenced and dictated by the world outside, and I have a power to discern, separate, so that I can give a break. so that I should not suffer, so that the pleasure should not convert into a pain. By simply one thing, to recognize, to realize, to live in awareness that happiness is not outside in the world. Examine closely. We find many factors when we met according to the mind, taste, affordability, then alone pasta gives me pleasure. It means pleasure is not contained in pasta. Drama is created by the mind within. Mind creates the drama with the likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment, superimposition of pleasure in the pasta, superimposition of pleasure in a particular person whom we like, superimposition in a particular situation, superimposition, superimposition, imagine. We always think. We say that the mind keeps on thinking. Why don't you start thinking in this way? Any incident happened that caused you worries, that caused you pleasure, come back, sit down on a couch, lazy care, with eyes open and closed. Think of these factors. Go ahead. What is left? Is there any confusion? What does it mean to say eating pasta makes me happy? How many things are there? How many things are there in the world that makes you happy? Anything. We experience the happiness in the world when that object comes in contact with you. Like the pasta goes to the mouth, the saliva starts pouring in, so called it gives you the pleasure. Is the pleasure in the tongue? You think in this way, the mind will become pure. Mind will become clear. It will never enter into anxiety. We do not think. Non thinking means what? Animal mind has to work, which is impulsive, habitual, reactive. Let us explore the source of pleasure if it is in the pasta or somewhere else. Same thing you can apply instead. You can replace the pasta if the source of the pleasure is a person or a situation or a condition. If it is not there, I have superimposed, I have imagined. The mind will always be scared, fear. If the pleasure are present in the pasta, then everyone should eat pasta and derive pleasure. Do you think that all the 8 billion people like pasta? No. So it means the pasta does not contain a pleasure. That is the first proof. But not everyone like pasta. So pleasure is not present in the pasta. That is why it is an imagined pleasure. Happiness is not present in any person. That is why the person you like, other may not like. We may derive pleasure because we like pasta. The first factor to get pleasure in the pasta is to like it. After liking, we imagine pleasure should be there. If we do not find the right environment in the restaurant, or our mood gets upset, we do not get the pleasure. Even in the same place, with the same food, with the same person. We're covering the topic Eastern wisdom explores so deeply, so clearly, and intellect becomes free. Intellect discerns, separates. That knowledge goes to the mind. Mind drops all the impurities in terms of anxiety, reaction, duality, problem, pain, and suffering. Still, another question comes. I have imagined pleasure in the pasta, but I get the pleasure. So I have to explore the source of pleasure. If it is present in the pasta, no problem. If it is present in a person, no issue. Or it is present in the mind. Even if it is present in the mind, then that too is okay. It is my mind. Clear. That is how we have to read and study the book. You raise questions again and again until the mind says, I got it. Where I got it? Conclusion? Happiness is not in the world outside of people, event, time, workplace, person, food. It is within me. Until the mind returns naturally and declares, I'm done with it. Then eat pasta. I'm not saying not to eat. I'm not saying not to live with a person. So let us explore the source of pleasure is present in pasta or in the mind. Pasta is just an example. It becomes clear that liking pasta in the mind superimposes pleasure in the pasta. Are you clear? But we experience pleasure in the mind as all experiences takes place in the mind. That is I covered in the beginning. All experiences takes place in mind, so experience of pain, anxiety, and pleasure always takes in the mind. Pasta is outside. I have an imagined pleasure in the pasta. That is clear. And now all experiences takes place in the mind, not in any object outside. I experience the pleasure inside. Pasta is outside. For example, I love you, so I enjoy being with you. You are outside, but I feel the pleasure inside. Are you getting it? I like this mouse. Mouse remains outside, but I feel the pleasure inside. It is an exercise. You are thinking, you can do this. You can do this contemplative exercise all the time. And if you can do it all the time, 1 week is required. Mind becomes pure. But come back to the topic. The source of the pleasure is not present in any object or a person outside. Be clear. Are you clear? It is not present in any place, person, object outside, but it is within us because I experience the pleasure inside. No object has properties of peace and happiness in the world. Am I clear? Then to experience pleasure in the object is a false and imaginative experience projected by the mind, because the mind is either deeply attached or imagined. So I'm exploring, I'm examining events, situations, objects, gadgets, relations reveal that a happiness is absent in all of them because I experience the happiness in my mind or I experience the anxiety in my mind. Take both. Clear. Our experience takes place in the mind. So it means pleasure or happiness. Oh, it means is the mind source of happiness? Let us see. But taken a different way, if the source of happiness is present in the objects of the world, then everyone would like to possess it and enjoy it. like pasta. If you like a cup of coffee because it gives you happiness and peace, then everyone should take a take a sip of cup of coffee and be happy, which is not true. What causes happiness when you take a cup of coffee needs to be rightly understood. What causes the happiness, so called the pleasure in eating pasta, needs to be rightly understood. Why rightly understood? Because we are human beings. Human being has a free intellect to think, to receive the knowledge and to realize. So when you receive the knowledge in a right way and you remove the imagined pleasures or imagined pain, the life becomes happy. When we like something, we get it. It gives me happiness. When we like something, we don't get it, we are unhappy. When we dislike something and it is near us, it gives us unhappy. It makes us unhappy. When we dislike something and it is far away, we are happy. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Very important point. We like something, it makes me happy. If that object or a person is near me, it gives me pleasure. When we like something that is too far from me, it makes me unhappy. When we dislike something and it is very near to us, it makes me unhappy. When we dislike something, it is too far, it makes me happy. Do you see the manipulation of the mind? We have to check and control this manipulation of the mind. That manipulation creates an imagined pleasure in the object, in the person, in a situation, in an event. Are you getting it? Not very subtle, but a little subtler. I like something near me. I possess it. It makes me happy. I like something which is too far. Makes me unhappy. Look at the manipulation the mind is manipulating. So mind is working impulsively, habitually. Mind becomes uncontrolled, and that is the problem. If you hate drinking coffee and drinking it, it will give you unhappiness. No, never. It means your happiness depends on whether you like the coffee or dislike it. We need to find the cause of our liking and disliking. The mind mostly lives and works with the likes and dislikes. I can work in freedom, free from the likes and dislikes. Let me enjoy working. Is there a groove of likes and dislikes in the mind? What does it mean by the likes and dislikes? We need to understand the cause of likes and dislikes is impulsive, instinctive, then habitual. We live our habitual life. We keep on doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting happiness. It is not possible in our life. When we perceive any object, because that object is different from me, it is separate from me, the mind creates the ripples of likes or dislikes of that object, that person. It is known as projection. The mind projects. Do you like this color? Projection. Do you dislike this color? Projection. Both are projection. Do you like this? Projection. You hate this? Projection. Likes and dislikes. When the mind creates the projection because it is searching for peace and happiness, why it is searching for peace and happiness, security in the object of the world? Because it is experiencing insecurity. It has already accumulated fear, insecurity, dissatisfaction, craziness, reaction, anxiety, so they are living in me. So, in order to remove that, I project peace and happiness outside. And that projection is imagination. That is imagined pleasure. Do you see the dangerous consequences of likes and dislikes? Without thinking, without understanding, we project the likes and dislikes, we superimpose, we expect a pleasure, we don't get it, and then we suffer. Then the anxiety takes over, then the reaction takes over. Source of pleasure and happiness is not the object, person, or a thing. Be 100% clear. Someone comes to your house. Mind repels deeper inside. So take care of that repelling force in the mind caused by the likes and dislikes rather than you start fighting with the person. How? Knowledge. How? By thinking and contemplating. No, this person has nothing to do with my state of the mind. It is because of the likes and dislikes, and you invite the person, you get the things done and finished. We concluded that the source of happiness is not in any object or a person in the world. Still, we experience happiness when we meet them. We found it is because we experience happiness when in contact with the object and people, situation, and events in the world. Even though the mind likes it, we still find happiness is there. What is the source of happiness? Is it in the mind? Because all experiences takes place in the mind. We can safely conclude that source of happiness is within all of us. We have yet to examine if it is the mind or something deeper than the mind. Now the question comes, I experience pleasure, I experience anxiety. Are they properties of the mind? So if the pleasure is the property of the mind, then what will happen? I will I will keep my mind in the pleasure all the time. So whether I like a person or not, I will remain in pleasure. What we have done until now, if you look at it clearly, we find we want to know permanent peace and happiness. I explained in the beginning. You have to go to that. Okay. Now, second thing that we discovered that it is an imagined pleasure in the world. Why there is an imagined pleasure? Because we are seeking permanent peace and happiness. But why we are seeking permanent peace and happiness? Why we are seeking permanent peace and happiness? Because we have a sense of insecurity in our head. We have a sense of insecurity in our head. Dissatisfaction is there. We are in search of peace and happiness. We realize that we experience pleasure or a pain inside me in relationship to anything outside. You eat pasta, you experience pleasure. Where in the mind? So we have to explore, continue to read after that, and find out, is the pleasure is in the mouse or it is within me? Now it is clear it is within me in my mind. But now is the mind is the source of my pleasure? Then I will take care of the mind to receive pleasure even in difficult circumstances and situations and conditions. We are going deeper. 40 steps of Eastern wisdom. We have yet to start those 40 steps. These are the introductory steps, introductory topics. So please read the topic. The way I have started thinking and contemplating and asking the questions and answering them same way you should ask the question and answer. We will pick up the second part of this journey next time. Thank you very much.